With Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Find holiday gift ideas for you and the family at the leading indoor shooting range, Shoot Point Blank. Check out great savings on ammo, accessories, firearms, and more. Not sure what to get? Shoot Point Blank offers gift cards too. See shootpointblank.com for details.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Fun piece in NashReview.com from our friend David Harsani. Who better than a finger-wagging teen bereft of accomplishment or any comprehension of basic economics or history to be Time's Person of the Year in 2019? Greta Thunberg's canonization is a perfect expression of media activism in a deeply unserious time. Has there ever been a less consequential person picked to be Person of the Year? I doubt it. I mean, Wallace Simpson, 1936 Person of the Year, got King Edward VIII to abdicate the throne. Thunberg can't even get you to abdicate your air conditioning. Zing.
Heyo.
That's good. But I agree with him. Rather than express outrage, you express amazement at how unserious our time is. And she perhaps is the perfect selection.
Even kids her age, like Peyton and Eli, were laughing. Like, she's accomplished nothing but being a whiny person in front of all these world leaders, whether it be at the UN. She met the Pope. She met former President Obama. President Trump tweeted, "So ridiculous. Greta must work on her anger management problem.
How dare you?
Then go to a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. Chill, Greta. Chill."
How dare you?
I mean,
Remember when
the
she
celebration of somebody who's clearly not right. She should be in school.
Remember she was giving Trump the omen stare?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
going to kill you. I'm going to kill.
What would Henry Luce, if he were alive today, think about what Time Magazine has become? Ben Dominique had a good piece at thefederalist.com. We were talking about like who would actually be a legitimate Person of the Year.
Yeah.
And he's got a good idea.
Who?
The Person of the Year? The Hong Kong protester.
Yeah.
Hong
that's
Kong
what
freedom
Peyton-
protester should be Person of the Year.
My oldest son said that yesterday, too.
Henry Luce in Dominique making
read
the
the
case, an obvious case to make. But he recounts, does Dominique in his piece, in his prospectus for Time Magazine. Remember, Henry Luce is one of the most important publishers of the last 100 years. Time Magazine, Fortune Magazine, Sports Illustrated. His perspective for Time, a belief that the world is round and an admiration for the statesman's view of all of the world. A general distrust of the present tendency toward increasing interference by government. This is in the 1920s. A prejudice against the rising cost of government. Faith in the things which money cannot buy. A respect for the old, particularly in manners. An interest in the new, particularly in ideas. Do you find those first principles to be part of Time Magazine's brand today? Or frankly, very many media outlets that are, that constitute the establishment media? No, I'm afraid you don't. Now, we played this clip yesterday, a couple of clips from this woman, Naomi Siebert, a 19-year-old German gymnast who is very much modeled in the Greta, modeled in sort of the Greta way to be a climate change activist. You know, this is insinuated itself in most, if not all, of our K through 12 school systems, and certainly that's the case in Europe. Nicole Siebert, she's 19 years old. Youth is served, I get it. She has a different perspective. But I think what you'll hear from her and her epiphany is just somebody who's actually trying, as a young person does, and we all should continually as lifelong learners, trying to sort of wrestle with what the evidence actually suggests about the proportionality of the threat. And she concludes what she's come to believe about the climate change alarmist movement, amplified by Greta and her media facilitators.
I believe, unfortunately, that the goal is to shame humanity. Climate change alarmism, at its very core, is a despicably anti-human ideology. And we are told to look down upon our achievements with guilt, with shame, and with disgust, and not even to take into account the many major benefits that we have gained from using fossil fuels as our main energy source. Because look around, we're living in such an amazing era of fast progress, of innovation, and we are not allowed to be proud of that at all. Instead, debates are being shut down, and scientists, real scientists, lose their jobs for performing the most genuine and innocent form of science there is, which is just real science, real skepticism. And that is not just an insult to science, that is an insult to the complexity of nature, and most importantly, it is an insult to the freedom of speech.
Yeah, Naomi Seept won't be getting a piggyback ride by Arnold Schwarzenegger. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Steve Milloy, founder of JunkScience.com, member of President Trump's EPA transition team. Steve, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me this morning.
So what about the continued plaudits for young Greta?
Yeah, it's really astounding. I think this, I call them climate bedwetters. As Naomi said, I mean, they're people haters, they're anti-humanity. Climate hysteria is about 30 years old at this point. In the past 30 years, CO2 emissions have gone up, but guess what? We have a lot more people on this planet living a lot better lives. GDP is up. The earth is greener than ever before. Life expectancy is up. Infant mortality is down. I mean, if you love people, if you love civilization, things are going great. Yeah, we got political issues here and there, but for most people, there's more of us living better lives, all thanks to fossil fuels. There's nothing that environmentalists and climate bedwetters are going to bring to the table except misery for people.
The other thing too is just looking at those carbon emissions that the alarmists obsess about. What's the play here? Non-OECD countries, if you look at a 40-year projection of the billions of metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions in non-OECD countries, so less developed countries, it's trending from 20,000 metric tons in aggregate in 2010 to more than 30,000 by 2050. By contrast, in the developed world, it was at about 13,000 metric tons in 2010, and it's trending to be slightly under 10 by 2050. So, if you're not willing to force some sort of a regulatory regime on the less developed world, then what are you really doing?
Well, so the numbers show that, in the developed world, emissions are going down. I don't actually think that's true. I think what we've done is we've exported our emissions to Asia. So Asia's got not only its own emissions from its own increasing standard of living, we've saddled them with our emissions. Emissions are going up. The UN says the total global man-made emissions were about 55 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalents last year. Mm-hmm. There's no end in sight.
But also in places like China, they're building more coal-fired power plants, and that's not the case in places like America.
Well, look. So Europe has about 150 gigawatts of coal capacity right now. They want to get rid of it. China is building more than Europe has right now. Germany has about 42 gigawatts worth of coal capacity. China built more coal last year than Germany has in total. In America, activists and the Obama administration succeeded in wrecking the coal industry, so now we're only about 20% coal. I don't know that it's going to be like that forever. I don't believe anyone's going to leave hundreds of billions of dollars worth of coal in the ground. It's just a resource.
Except Illinois. Yeah.
We will.
Yeah, especially in Illinois. So it's foolish to do that. It's not accomplishing anything. So.
Well, what about rising sea levels? I keep hearing from all People on the
Well,
left.
yeah, so that's
and then
a great
Lake Michigan, there's erosion on the lakefront, and my house is going to fall in the
So
water.
yesterday's news was that since 1992, Greenland has lost 4 trillion tons of ice. And I'm thinking, wow, we should be underwater, right? And it turns out that through their worst case scenario is that in the last almost 30 years that has raised sea level by 1/3 of an inch. Okay, that's not even measurable. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Well, here's the other thing about the climate alarmists. Your argument becomes less persuasive the more fraudulent it is. I mean, it's just sort of an axiom. I don't know. I don't know why this doesn't apply in this area, but it seems to not apply. The story last week: 2 whistleblowers, Australian scientists, in a paper called Earth Systems and Environment, called out. I mean, these are technical, esoteric organizations, but they're the data miners and keepers and promulgators. There's evidence that adjustments of tidal records at the Global Data Bank Permanent Service for Mean Sea Level were made without any basis. For 140, the raw data, unadjusted, show that local sea level trends in the last 140 years have been very gently rising, neutral or negative. The adjustment, without explanation, is that there's a sharp increase. And so now you have, the debate is apparently not over because you have scientists, as I just mentioned, the 2, saying you can't do that without some sort of explanation that holds up under scrutiny.
Well, so, this is a problem with a lot of the surface temperatures, too. There's lots of explanations for surface temperatures increasing, like the urban heat island effect. Well, with sea level temperatures, if you're looking at, like, tidal gauges, a lot of coastal areas are subsiding, especially like South Florida, places like Miami Beach. Miami Beach was built on a man-made sandbar 100 years ago. Guess what? It's eroding. So there's a lot of erosion, subsidence, groundwater withdrawal going on. And so, the alarmists, they have to adjust data to stick, to make the data consistent with their, scary hypotheses. So it's all this data adjustment going on. No one really knows what's going on. Another trick is they have satellites that can measure sea level rise, if you can believe that. Have you ever seen the ocean? It has things called waves.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
How you can measure sea level with constant waves, hard to know. But so, there's just a lot of bad data out there and a lot of hysteria. It's not really about the climate. It's not about controlling the climate. It's about controlling you. Okay, this is just a political power grab. It's always been about this. Like the way they're trying to, hurry up impeachment to get rid of Trump. They're trying to scare the bejeebers out of everybody on climate to get the power they want. And that's what it's all about.
Do you think Greta Thunberg's going to go away anytime soon? Possibly. Should she go back to school now and learn something?
She's going to go away. She's going to go to Harvard in a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly what her future is. I mean, people will get tired of her. The bottom line is the world is not going to use less fossil fuels. Emissions are never going down. I'm not sure. She's not accomplishing anything. So eventually her usefulness will be used up, and they'll get rid of her, and they'll get somebody else. They'll try some other trick. They've tried everything there is to try. So now, the climate movement is so pathetic, as you pointed out earlier. They have this, 16-year-old know-nothing. She admits she knows nothing. She's just skipping school every Friday. I mean, so we need to destroy our standard of living because this girl doesn't want to go to school.
To that I say, to that I say, Steve, how dare you? How dare you?
Just do it with a Swedish accent.
Steve Milloy, founder of JunkScience.com, member of President Trump's EPA transition team. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Take care.
And join us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
How dare you?
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Attention maintenance coordinators. Fans are a vital part of your business's building or factory. You've got to keep the air moving, but when they break down or need service, who can you call? Vans Industrial repair all types of fans, from small wall fans to large air movers.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. Fan repair is one of many services that Vans offers. If you have a fan with a damaged shaft, bearing, impeller, or housing, we can help. And if you need a new fan, we handle all major brands and can provide engineering assistance to properly size your new fan. Our crews can respond to your emergencies or routine maintenance and will have your fan back up and running fast. And when we're done repairing your fan, we can also dynamically balance it so it runs smooth for years to come.
Vans uses only the best and safest